The National Union of Metalworkers of South Africa, Numsa, is taking companies Aspen and Asel to the Labour Court, challenging the Section 189 process underway at the companies. Numsa says it's worried on developments at the companies and wants the courts to intervene, also slamming developments at Ford SA, accused of implementing retrenchments without consultation. Now, the union held a media briefing to communicate various issues, including wage negotiations in the auto sector. For more on this, SABC News Economics Reporter Katlego joins us live in studio. Good afternoon, Katlego. Quite a lot that Numsa had to say at this briefing today. Let's start with just the update on wage negotiations in the automotive sector.
A very good afternoon to you, Mfundo, and to our viewers at home. Well, Numsa has been negotiating with the sector, in the automotive sector, with the employer for a while now. This has culminated in about 9 meetings at the National Bargaining Forum. There were also bilaterals on the side to try and just ensure that these parties find each other. The parties are not finding each other. As we speak right now, Numsa has obtained a certificate of non-resolution. This would be a certificate to strike at this point into a looming strike action in the automotive sector. The bone of contention would be the wages that really the parties are not finding each other on. We saw as well the association, this being AMEO, the employers organization, releasing a statement to say last night to say that this would be their final offer. What they tabled here would be a 7% wage offer, a multi-year agreement, 3 years, a 7% in the first year, a 5.5% second year, and the third year. Numsa has slammed that, rejecting this offer to say that the workers is not feasible. The workers are not going to really take this. They're not even willing to take this to their workers because of the fact that they started at 9%. You can imagine they started at 9%, and they're saying that that 5.5% in the outer years is tantamount to a salary freeze because it's something that was negotiated upon in the previous years. So saying the employer has not moved. They are willing to at least settle at the 7%, but they would want it to be a 766, a 7% in the first year, 6% in the second year, and another 6% in the third year. And they're saying that really at this point in time, it's up to the employer to ensure that they come to the party and avert a strike action. Here, we're talking about 7 original equipment manufacturers, those big companies in South Africa, like your Toyota SA, your BMW, your Ford SA, Mercedes-Benz. These are companies that are represented by an association organization, an employer organization that has been negotiating with Numsa. At this point in time, the parties are not finding each other. It's pointing to a strike action in the auto sector.
Now, speaking of Ford SA, they've now also been accused by Numsa of actually embarking on a retrenchment process without consultation. What was stated around that?
Various of these companies have really been trying to navigate the economy in trying to balance what they operations with the staff complement that they have. And most of these companies had embarked on Section 189. Numsa is taking issue with the fact that as you embark on this Section 189, the law says that there has to be somewhat of a consultation, negotiation. We have to sit down, bargain, so that the workers are able to get what they deserve fairly when they separate and they part ways with the company. So they're saying that this has not been the case at Ford SA. Ford SA accused of, going behind closed doors to try and negotiate with workers individually for them to take packages. And Numsa is saying that is something that is untoward because they would want for them as their members of the union to really be represented by the union. They're the one that they pay affiliation to. And they're saying that they've been inundated with some of their members asking as to what is happening at Ford SA because they're not getting a message from Numsa, the organization, to say that we've embarked on this process with the organization and this is what's on the table. So they've slammed that. But again, we see them just talking about embarking now on a process to approach the Labour Court. This is via developments at Aspen Pharmacare, the organization. The company has embarked on a retrenchment process as well. They also have taken issue with developments at Asel, South Africa.
So these ones, they were part at least of the consultation process, but they actually want to stop retrenchment altogether, which is something completely different to Ford SA.
Yeah, that is something completely different because what they're saying here is that already with ArcelorMittal, there's a case that is at the labor court, and the court had ruled that ArcelorMittal should go back to the drawing board in terms of implementing some of these retrenchment processes via consultation. And ArcelorMittal moved to appeal this, and they're saying they're going back to the courts again to challenge that particular appeal because the courts had ruled that what ArcelorMittal had embarked on would be illegal, which is why they maintain that ArcelorMittal needs to, go back to the processes of consultation. But where this company is concerned as well, they want a government to come through and turn ArcelorMittal into a state company. They're saying that, it will be, disheartening to see this company, divest and move away from South Africa altogether. They're saying that the state, they're working with the IDC to try by all means to save the company. And they're saying as they're trying that, they're seeing these processes playing themselves out. And it doesn't look like ArcelorMittal has been embarking on some of these processes, according to them, in good faith. So they're now going to the courts to challenge this. At Aspen Pharmacare, they're saying that there was the first round of retrenchments there, second round of retrenchments. They've been challenging these retrenchments because the organization has not been forthcoming with details. Another issue that they've raised here, Mfundo, would be they want these companies to open their books to say that if you're saying that you are struggling, then show us, that you are struggling so that it can be justified as to why you are retrenching or why you want to cut the salaries or you don't want to increase the salaries of the workers. It must be based on evidence, and which is why what they're taking to the courts as well, to the labor courts, for the courts to force these companies to open their books so that there can be a balance in terms of the implementation of these Section 189s.
Certainly will be interesting to see what comes out of ArcelorMittal, especially given the boost in funds for them, and then now they still find themselves in this position. But then we understand that Numsa also embarked on a march today to Treasury. What was that about?
So Numsa joined forces with other organizations, unions like your SATAL and the likes in the private security sector. So this is a fight that they had embarked on, and they're saying that it's been a losing battle. They now want government to intervene, especially the National Treasury. They're accusing these companies, Mfundo, of not really obliging and not keeping up with the submissions or what they deduct from the workers in terms of the provident fund, in terms of the medical aid. They're saying that they've been inundated with workers who find themselves, towards the end, and they, now they have to go back to the books to see whether these companies have been in any way, submitting some of these to the service providers or not. And they're saying that this is tantamount to defrauding the workers. And they're saying you don't want to, at your latest stage of your working years, and then you find yourself having to now stress about whether you do have provident fund or some of these safeguard security measures, social security measures that would pertain to labor. So they're saying that the National Treasury should intervene here and blacklist these companies and ensure that these companies are held accountable in returning some of these monies that they've been deducting from the workers over the years. This is something that we saw playing itself out in Fundo around when there was the introduction of the two-pot retirement fund, where a lot of people were now starting to question as to whether these companies are keeping up with their contributions or not. And this is something that Numsa now is saying government must be serious about because workers are in the receiving end.
Katlego, as always, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed with all matters on the economics desk. That's SABC News Senior Economics Reporter Katlego just speaking to us.